time to duel as we go into game 1 of round 10 of YCS Houston. Pressure's on. Let's see those dice rolls.
11. That's a pretty good start there for Pascal.
Not a bad way to be. Robert coming a little short there with an 8.
All right. Good luck to you. Good luck.
Pascal loudly exclaiming that he's going to go first. That is a Memento player's best outcome for sure.
Definitely lets you get a lot of setup there. And one of the other things, though, is your deck has so much pieces of the engine in Mimigoul, there may not actually be any points of interaction. So we're starting off with Darkblade here.
So there we see the Darkblade coming down, using its effect here to destroy itself and get another Memento card. Going to get that Anguish out of the deck. I actually saw an interesting kind of flash there from Pascal's deck. Speedroid Terror Top. I'd be seeing a bit of a Speedroid engine in this deck, not only Goblins. Cool.
It looks like it's good. Taking a look over at Robert's hand, there's not necessarily a lot that can interact. Plenty of spells and a few Mimigouls, but not much else. So Sleepy hitting the board here. I think it's time for a little fusion summon.
That was the effect of Sleepy to special, I believe, right? So now we're going to be using its effect here to fusion. We're going to use 3 monsters. Wow. The Gaddock, the Achihuron, and the Sleepy itself to go into Creation King. Yep, and then we're going to chain to the effect of Creation King Gaddock to summon from the graveyard, and this will allow Creation King to now send 3 cards from our deck or extra deck to the graveyard. We're going to start off with a fusion, as well as a combined creation. Probably want to get something like Goblin or something like Mace or something like... Yeah, Mace seems like a really good way just to have a guaranteed interaction on Robert's next turn.
Just an excellent way to set up there. It's such a crazy card that has gotten so much done this tournament. We've seen so much good Memento play.
Yep, on a new chain there, Gaddock will add back that fusion from the graveyard as it has now hit the field.
Yeah, pop a special.
So we're going to go ahead and destroy the special summon there, get rid of the Creation King to bring back the Mace there. Going to banish the Mace to bring out the Memento Miklan's field spell from the deck.
So far, Pascal has not hit any sort of speed bumps on his way to fulfilling the Memento combo. Let's see if he can keep going.
Might be just all gas and no brakes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for Memento. They do have interactions that they can use to play through stuff, but it's just not going to be the same as just dropping down an Ash Blossom and Joyous Springer and a Biru, because that just hasn't come up yet.
Destroy 1 Memento on the field and then add a Memento card in my hand.
Yep, just getting clarification there on what these effects do. Always important when you're communicating with your opponent to always just clarify, like, what are you about to do right now, so that way I can best tailor my response.
Definitely would rather ask than be told or find out the hard way, right? So we are going to get the Seahorse there, the Memento Tatsuno Toshigo. And just feels really strong on the Memento side right now. Just uninterrupted play, card after card after card dropping down. So I feel, you know, since you don't know what your opponent has, do you think that Pascal is going to set up the Cranium Burst combo? We haven't seen every Memento duelist even use that.
Well, we have seen this card before. Goblin's Breaker Grand Breakout, going to be getting that Momentum Goblin from the deck by sending the Mace back to the graveyard. So I'm not sure how far Pascal's deck can go, because it looks like he's playing a lot of sub-engines that aren't just Memento, so maybe he doesn't have room for cards like Cranium Burst, but if he was going to play it, now's as good a time as any, given how unfettered he's been able to play so far.
It's a card that can sometimes get diminishing returns there, right? It does nothing unless you have combined creation on the field, so it looks like he's just not going for that just yet. In fact, I don't even see it in the deck as he's sort of scrolling through as he sends his Memento Fusion to the graveyard.
I mean, at this point, we sent so many cards from our deck to the graveyard, we barely have any deck left.
That's true, that's true.
And also trigger spell.
Yep, just going to use Achihuron in the field spell here. Going to put Sleepy back on the board. And we're going to add Mace back to the hand, like I mentioned earlier. That's a really good way for him to kind of change of heart during his opponent's turn and steal one of their monsters.
Memento Miklan really feeling like a different type of field spell than most, but hey, speaking of different stuff, Goblin Bikers, is that a big Gabonga?
That is a big Gabonga, and oh my gosh, Robert with the Imperm at the perfect time to stop that big Gabonga and unlocking maybe more of the Goblin plays that Pascal might have access to. I've never seen that kind of big Goblin engine before, but going into big Gabonga, he's probably going to search for another kind of monster that can let him extend, maybe like a Doug Charger or something.
Maybe, and now that Goblin Biker Big Gabonga honestly makes the rest of the deck make sense. When we saw the Speedroid Terror Top, what were the level 3s about?
Right.
Well, this is what the level 3s are about, giving you access to those Goblin Biker cards and using that as a backdoor to get into your Memento Goblin.
But Pascal's like, no worries, I still have plenty of Memento cards. Let's go ahead and use this fusion here, put some of those many names that I have in the graveyard back in the deck. We're going to go ahead and put Tatsuno Toshigo as well as Gaddock back into the deck, and hopefully bring out Twin Dragon here, and just get even more digging into our Memento engine.
Certainly a powerful, sometimes vulnerable deck, right? A Dimension Shifter is not a great time for this deck, but it still can get a lot done. So we are going to go ahead and say goodbye to our Memento Twin Dragon here and say hello to 2 new Memento cards.
Let's see, what names have we not used yet? We haven't used... We've already used Goblin, but not the Goblin in-hand effect to protect from targeting. But
yes, but that could only be used on the opponent's turn, but that means he's setting up to just make sure, hey, whatever you're going to do, we ain't doing that here.
Exactly, and then maybe like another Anguish probably, just for follow-up, or Darkblade, or... Yeah, exactly.
Darkblade. Darkblade is a great way to start the combo. You could go into Anguish first, but then you would just miss an opportunity to get another Memento name to the graveyard, which is obviously very important for combined creation.
And then we see that Darkblade being summoned back out to the field.
I'm going to use Fusion in the graveyard.
Yep, now we're going to use the graveyard effect of Fusion.
Sure.
We're going to get rid of the Big Manga. Unfortunately, being Imperm, that Big Manga is not going to be very useful to Pascal.
No, it is not, but we are going to go ahead and bring out the Bone Party. Possibly for extension, maybe it's going to be used just to push the envelope a little further, but we're sending 2 monsters to the graveyard. I feel like SP Little Knight has been very common in the Memento boards because everything else with the combined creation is just fine, and the SP Little Knight adds just a little bit of protection for that too.
Yeah, like what more do you need, you know, besides a combined creation and an SP Little Knight? 5,000 attack and a way to banish something. Plus, who knows how many interactions he has in hand now with the mace, the protection with the Goblin, and who knows what else.
Oh yeah, a searchable Change of Heart you can activate on your opponent's turn. That is incredible. And the non-targeting from the Goblin too is honestly really great as well. And there are a lot of targeting cards in the form. There's also not a lot. The Malice matchup can be kind of difficult. So if Pascal makes it out of this duel alive, he still will have his work cut out for him.
See the end phase and end phase set.
So we're going to go and set in the end phase with the Memento Mictlan, and the Memento Fusion goes face down.
Okay, and we have seen before that some of these Memento decks play really interesting fusion monsters, things like Guardian Chimera and whatnot, so those could be also extra interactions that Robert might need to take into account during his opponent's turn. But there you see 1-for-1 pitching Mimical Archfiend from the hand, and I bet you Pascal's like, oh, this is what I'm playing against? Okay, give me a second to think here. What are you going to do to me?
So you can't target Memento.
So no targeting, that's right. Beautiful 1-for-1 art there featuring Sonic Chick. Not to throw shade on the Samsara Lotus coming out of the original 1-for-1 art.
But speaking of 1-for-1, is so adorable.
It is, it is. Let's go ahead and grab our MIMIGHOUL Dragon.
Yeah, he's on summon.
Okay, so you go first.
Effect to add a MIMIGHOUL spell trap.
Effect to...
Yep, so there we go. We're just naming the chain links here because Robert's turn player is going to be chain 1 Dragon, and then I believe Pascal's going to chain 2 combined creation.
Yeah, effect discuss something from graveyard? Sure.
Yeah, this one special, a Mimigoul from the graveyard. A Memento. All these double
a lot of
M
M's
names
here.
Me.
But we do have our Memento Anguish there, and that means he could grab pretty much anything for backup or... I mean, he's already got the mace, so I guess we'll let his cards do the talking for us.
I mean... Honestly, I bet you Robert's fine with him taking his cards. I'm going to give you cards anyway. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But grabbing the Sleepy feels good. You can go ahead and have it jump into the fray. Memento being destroyed will sort of clear that condition, let it special summon, let it fuse. And it's already got the Memento Fusion face down on the field. So Pascal in pretty good shape here. But we've got our MIMIGHOUL decisions to make here.
MIMIGHOUL Maker is basically a custom card for the MIMIGHOUL archetype. It'll essentially allow 2 monsters to enter the field. 1 on the opponent's field and 1 on your own field. Sorry, 1 into your hand, I should say. But the one you give your opponent usually is not going to be a good thing.
Choices.
So we got Slime here
there are 2
and
roads.
Archfiend.
Which one do you take?
Odd, even. Yep.
So we're going to roll the dice here. We'll random decision.
All right,
It's
so that
odd.
means Pascal will get Archfiend. Yes. Yeah, so Pascal gets Archfiend set face down, and then Robert gets Slime added to his hand.
No.
Don't
On my
always see
cards.
Slime. Still not a bad card, though, for sure. Being
Yeah,
able
it's
to
basically like
special
an extra
another
body
MIMIGHOUL.
for him that he can use to either go into Xyz or Link plays.
So nothing can activate right now, right?
Right.
Okay.
Do you see a Triple Tactics Thrust in the hand? Maybe 2 copies, actually.
That's a really good card in this deck, is it can search all your really powerful spell cards like Maker, but we also know there's plenty of interesting cards you can use to kind of counter your opponent's board, like Talent, like 1-for-1 you can also grab as well. I think here he's probably just going to grab Talent, and he might take the combined creation and just switch it to attack mode and deal some damage.
You certainly can. Now, because it is not alone, it is not able to attack all monsters on the field. That's certainly a cool trick you can do at home if you happen to play against a MIMIGHOUL player, or excuse me, Memento player. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah, they literally have the double M's. Oh my goodness.
Honestly, draw 2 is fine.
Oh, going to draw 2. Okay, so just getting a little bit more gas in the tank. It's true that with the 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, there's not much to do. I see an Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and I believe a Droll and Lockbird that was just drawn. Also, level 1 can be helpful, but maybe not what he needs now.
Very true. Yep,
Okay.
because
Does that
Pascal has
any
more
effect on
monsters, Slime's going to be coming out as a free summon. This could let him go into Giant
Summon
Mimigoul,
is
get
fine.
extra monsters.
Anything when it's destroyed-
He
I
still has
mean,
not committed
summon
his
is
normal
fine,
summon
so
for turn, and if he gets his own Archfiend out of deck to flip over his opponent's Archfiend, that could be ways for him to get even more advantage.
To activate Memento Fusion? Sure.
Oh, this could be the Guardian Chimera sending 1, 2.
Yes.
Oh, what an interesting way to get rid of the Mimigouls off the field. It's just a fusion summon.
Yep.
I'm going to attempt to use Guardian Chimera's effect.
Yep, fun fact, guys, you can fusion summon using set monsters, but we're going to Ash the Guardian Chimera because it does include an effective draw.
Banish SP. And 2.
So very heads-up play, preventing any Exceed summon if you get rid of those 2 face-up level 1 monsters. And we haven't used our normal summon yet, so that really was a Troll and Lockbird. I see it could just be normal summoned in order to keep Robert's plays going there, but it looks like we're going to say goodbye to the Slime for now.
Does Giant Mimigoul need to have, no, only 2 level 1 monsters. That means you can still go into it here, even if he had to commit his normal summon to Droll, and there it is.
There's the draw. It's a level 1. Oh, but we're getting the Bone Party going, so I wonder what monster would be used now in order to keep that Exceed summon from happening. I mean, obviously using Memento Mace is huge because you could just take your opponent's monster and then they wouldn't have 2 level 1s. And you know your opponent's kind of in a desperation phase when they are normal summoning Droll and Lockbird.
You're like, this is probably not going to be good for me if I let you keep playing because this is your last effort, so let's just stop you right here.
Chainlink 1 Gadget, Chainlink 2 Sleepy.
Yep, so because Sleepy was destroyed, it'll have its own effect. Bone Party being able to destroy from the field and the hand is so nice.
Oh,
for
it's
just
an
unlocking all
incredible
these effects.
card. Just getting rid of another name there.
Want to fill that yard up nice and deep.
Special summon.
Oh, we're going to fuse it off. Okay, so really saving the Mace and not trying to just steal the monster, doing something cute. Instead, fusing to make a
Chainlink
Creation
1,
King.
Creation King, chain 2 Gadget, Crystal Summon Silk. Sure.
Yep, and now we're going to be able to send some more cards with the Creation King here. I believe in order for it to pop, you need to be able to destroy something on your own field, right?
Yes, you have to get rid of some of your own Memento monsters, and in exchange, you get to destroy the same number of cards on their side of the field. But as you see, there's plenty of Memento monsters, and there's, even if you just got rid of the Gaddock, that would be enough. But he's going to do both to get rid of both.
And there's no reason not to have Creation King in your yard anyway. You get so much value out of doing that.
Definitely a powerful monster there.
Yeah.
Really rounds out the Memento strategy these last couple of support cards they've received, including Akihiran.
Yeah, the recycling of the resources that the Memento deck has is just so impressive.
Well, I mean, it's a deck about coming back from the dead. Certainly they do just that.
Yep, so there, during the end phase, the SP and the Slime will come back, and then it goes over to Pascal's turn. And I think this is as simple as switch everything to attack mode and
start getting in there, yeah.
get in there.
Set the face down card. I didn't catch what it was. I wonder if it is just a set triple tactics thrust.
it could be like, if it is a trap card, it could be Mimighoul Room, which is a book, and that can also potentially summon him more Mimighoul monsters and maybe keep Robert alive, but it'll depend here on what he actually is setting and how far Pascal's willing to play around the potential of that.
This will Chainlink 2 Akihiran.
Sure.
So we're going to go ahead and get both the effects of Akihiran and the Memento Miklon. So special summoning monster from the grave, and then going to go ahead and add there, but looks like we'll take the Memento Infusion from the banishment.
Ooh, but
And
there we see the other secret effect of Darkblade, being able to destroy spell and trap cards.
Charging in there. This is going to force something. Do you reveal that card?
There is also less than 50 minutes.
Robert considering his options.
It is the Mimighoul Room. This will allow him to book something in play, but I don't know if he targets something that hasn't been summoned this turn, if he'll be able to flip it back face up.
Now, he does also get to special summon a Mimighoul monster, so maybe that'll be enough to keep him in the duel, but it
that's
just
true.
seems like, as you say, the sun is getting real low here.
Yep, so Pascal's just debating if he wants to chain anything to this. So
Oh, he's gonna let him
You
down.
only use one effect per turn, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So just clarifying that the effective book will not be able to be activated.
No dragons.
That's right. That's no targeting. That definitely helps.
Dark.
But it is change one face-up monster, so it does, yeah, still flip down.
Yep, so he gets the special summon monster to Pascal's field, clogging up his zones, which is really important, but also setting the Dark Blade. It was summoned this turn, so it couldn't be booked back up. Easiest way to do that.
That is correct there. But there's still so much power on the field. If the SP Little Knight's just able to attack over the slime.
But it is worth noting that unless Pascal commits to Link summoning, he won't be able to, or I guess another fusion summon potentially, he won't be able to have enough zones to start normal summoning from this point forward. So he might not have enough damage right now.
Well, 5,000 and 3,300 from the Chimera feel pretty good. With the 500 defense of the slime, that may be enough if SP Little Knight clears it out.
Okay, that's the only thing.
That's one thing I can use right now.
Robert may just be finding information out here, though, just seeing how does my opponent play in this situation. I may not be able to get out of it, but I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's 500.
500, yep.
Battle phase.
All right, we'll go straight to battle phase. We have 16.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Robert not knowing the 5,000 attack of combined creation, all of a sudden now that makes sense. That
I was sitting here like, man, Robert seems really confident right now. Like, I don't think he's going to lose this turn, Steven. Oh, no extension he had. But let's see how that goes for game 2 here with Robert and Pascal. I don't know how Robert's going to choose here, but I think he's going to be more comfortable going first.
Definitely respect between both players. Let's see what's going on here as they draw 5.
All right, so Robert has chosen to go first, and he's leading off with the MIMIGHOUL Throne. That's going to be the awesome field spell for the deck.
Okay.
Sorry, Dungeon. MIMIGHOUL Dungeon. MIMIGHOUL Throne's the new Xyz monster.
That's right, that's right. But we might be sitting on the throne. Oh, and both players got Droll and Lockbird, and that makes sense.
Ooh, and that makes that Search Dragon just a little bit worse as a normal summon because now it won't really do anything because it won't be able to search for that spell card.
So going to activate the Triple Tactics Thrust here.
And this luckily sets from deck. Does not add to hand, so you can dodge Droll and Lockbird with it.
But are we going for an in-engine spell or trap card? Or are we going for something like different Dimension Ground or Dimensional Barrier?
That's true. We are post-side now. When you main deck cards like Thrust, it just unlocks so many more potential for you in games 2 and 3 to sort of stymie your opponent.
definitely hit me with that good.
Absolutely. Now, I think
We're
I
just
saw
going to be getting an infinite impermanence here off the Thrust.
Ah, I see. I think I saw Harpy's Feather Storm as he was cycling through his deck. That cool color yellow just sort of splashed out there. Didn't choose to use it, right? Not a lot of wing beasts here, but interesting to see that Robert is choosing some just stuff, right? I mean, that's the thing about MIMIGHOUL. You have so many different options than anybody else in the tournament scene.
And Thrust really makes your deck just a bit more flexible like that too, which is really nice. But there, Robert's got a pass. So unfortunately, Droll and Lockbird, the patented turn skip interaction has worked against Robert here. Let's see if Pascal can capitalize. Starting off with Anguish, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be a great starter there. Dark Blade, the only better one. But looks like we're going to take a look here and go ahead and say yes. We know that Droll and Lockbird is in Robert's hand, and that will slow down Memento quite a bit.
Pascal's like, anything you can do, I can do as well.
Oh, and with that rarity, maybe he's thinking better in his head.
Now, Robert's hoping that this will be enough to stop Pascal. That might be enough to sort of stop him from getting extra extension, but being able to send cards from the deck to the graveyard is really all Pascal needs to get some plays going. We're just clarifying here how MIMIGHOUL Dungeon works. Basically, Pascal needs to control a set monster in order to not be allowed to normal summon, but right now there isn't one, so the other effects doesn't really matter. But in the future, it's worth keeping in mind. Ooh, but there we see the Triple Tactics talent coming from Pascal.
Ooh, for the reveal.
Having him reveal the hand.
Dragon and Maker.
Yep, there it is. He's just reading that reading there. MIMIGHOUL Mastery, yeah. He's like the really like pseudo boss monster for the deck. He can become really big, and he on summon can like let you search for extra cards, which is pretty nice. But yeah, Dragon's definitely the bigger threat here because that gets you to Maker, and Maker gets you to everything else.
Absolutely. Robert smiling there, just in good spirits. Happy to be on the featured match stage for the first time, but definitely trying his best here.
He's day 2ing with MIMIGHOUL. That's already an accomplishment. Great job.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing on res.
No, nothing at all.
Yeah, as we learned yesterday, it is an ignition effect. And there we have MIMIGHOUL Room coming down.
Spell summon a monster on either your field or my.
That's huge. Being able to flip down the Tatsuno Toshigo before it uses its effect could stop. Because remember, Droll and Lockbird only stops adding cards from the deck to the hand. Doesn't say nothing about sending cards from the deck to the graveyard.
And what's cool is Robert could summon a MIMIGHOUL monster to his own field because he's going to be booking or like turning face down the Tatsuno Toshigo.
For a set monster, a monster that was summoned, special monster that was summoned that turn cannot attack.
And that it doesn't negate effects or anything.
It does not negate that.
Yeah, it's like a pseudo at battle phase sort of floodgate. Stops people from attacking you if they were summoned this turn.
Kind of reminds me of some of those early Bakura cards, right? The Dark Door, etc. Just slowing you down, but not necessarily stopping you permanently.
Very importantly, I believe you need to control a set monster first. So
correct, but he's about to. If this resolves, it'll be able to flip down one of those monsters. I would imagine you've got to go for that Seahorse.
Now, I think the question you're asking, Robert, is does Pascal have MEMENTO fusion? Because if he does, giving him a monster that he can't fuse with might be really important. But here we're going to give him the Archfiend and give him 2 set monsters total. Oh, you want to know why? Because Robert has access to room on the following turn to flip up the monster that he just set, so he'll be able to get more advantage by just giving him the monster and maybe have a higher likelihood of stymieing him with his own field spell. But there we see the Bone Party. I believe it only can destroy face-up cards, right?
Correct, because it has to have that name, and so while the card's face down, it doesn't have a name tag on.
It doesn't say tribute or anything, so yeah.
Correct, it's destroy.
So Bone Party destroying Sleepy there is pretty huge because Sleepy could be able to fusion summon once this cycle gets going here.
Yeah, choosing wisely as he goes through the deck. You do not want to make a misstep. Even if you're up 1 game, Pascal wanting to make sure that this goes the right way. And so it looks like the card we're choosing is...
We've already normal summoned. We probably want something like, I don't know, Gaddock? No, probably not.
He's got the Gaddock at the front, so it seems like that's the one he wants to do, but maybe we're swapping out. Oh,
another
Darkblade for the destruction.
Gonna try to destroy the field spell just to get all that funniness out of the way so we can keep playing unfettered.
We're gonna go.
But we know Robert still has that Imperm face down. He could just use that to stop the Darkblade.
Certainly could.
Oh, we're not gonna be Darkblading. We're just gonna be using the effect of Bone Party Descent. Sorry, the Sleepy Descent.
I'm going to attempt to use Darkblade to spell system.
Oh, it's an ignition effect, not on summon.
Okay, gotcha.
The other effect is on summon.
That's right, that's right. So it's going to be destroying. Now it's tough. Even Robert's like, oh man.
Oh yeah, Darkblade doesn't target, huh? Oh no.
Yeah, so he's not using the discard effect to destroy the spell or trap on the field, but he is using the destruction effect to special summon a level 3 or lower
Right,
Memento.
because we started with
monster.
Anguish, not with Darkblade. That was last game when we started with Darkblade. I see.
You typically want to start with Darkblade, but that's what makes Memento so cool is that it's almost like playing like a free-form video game. You just play whatever cards you want in whatever order you want.
100%. And here we're going to add back the Sleepy. This will let us have access to our fusion plays still, which is pretty nice. Can Sleepy use face-down monsters to fuse? I would assume it's a fusion summon you can.
It should be able to, because even with Guardian Chimera, right, it doesn't specify with what it's doing. But all monsters in fusion summons, unless it's looking for something specific, they can always be used face down because you fusion summon on the resolution of the effect, not as their cost.
Yes, 100%.
Your last chance to rectify.
If that makes sense to the chat, my apologies.
No. It's always interesting, you know, when you have set monsters incorporating with all these new summon mechanics that we've had ever since 2018. It's really interesting to sort of see how you can combat that style of play. This is what MIMIGHOUL is always about, you know, is giving your opponent things that they think are gifts, but actually are harder to use than you might think.
I really love how MIMIGHOUL has this sort of like dungeon master feel, right? Where you're like, you encounter a dungeon, you open the treasure chest, bad things happen, right? You're almost telling a story. But Memento has a story to tell too. They are just going to keep on coming.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a dragon.
Yes, and then it's a big old dragon made of bones.
So I think Robert is just debating if he wants to interact with this Goblin's effect here. And he does. He's going to imperm the Goblin.
Interesting.
Use Sleepy to fusion summon.
But now, very few cards left. We're still under the effect of Droll and Lockbird. Nobody forget.
I'm going to chain link 1 Creation King, chain 2 Gaddock to spell summon itself back.
Sure. Yep, so they have the Chain Links 2 Gaddock to summon back, and the Creation King to send more cards from the deck to the graveyard, which again, Droll and Lockbird does not stop. And like I said earlier, that's all Memento needs to do.
This could be it. There's certainly enough Memento names that if you just throw down a few, including the combined creation, then all of a sudden 5,000 plus 3,000 equals 8,000 last I checked my math.
Creation King.
It is worth noting that any monster that Social Summon this turn cannot attack currently while there's a set card, but unlike, I was just about to say, until that dungeon is cleared, Pascal is going to have a little bit of trouble going for game this turn.
That's the thing, it feels like Swords of Revealing Light, but just like Swords of Revealing Light, it can be removed from the field and no longer has that protection. So now we're seeing those 5 names.
And now Pascal has more than enough damage in play to go for game here. We're going to attack for 30, and we're going to attack for 5k, and that's game. Pascal takes it, guarantees his game win here,